With the election behind us, it's time to step back and take a look at the broader picture of American politics, then fall to weeping quietly before drinking ourselves into a stupor. Basically, Americans are now confronting two conflicting views of economics, foreign policy, and cultural standards. In the Republican view of the economy, freedom is the order of the day. Capitalism ensures that you have the choice to spend your own money on whatever meaningless disposable trinket happens to catch your fancy while putting your kids' tuition on a credit card and paying 22% interest on it until you're so deep in debt that you become a Democrat and go on welfare. In the Democrat view of the economy, the government is here to give you whatever you want so that you're free to use your time to write a poem or hold up a liquor store or share your oxy prescription with your illegitimate child. Now, you may ask Democrats, how are you going to pay for all that? To which they reply, look over there, a man who can't use the girls' bathroom even though he's wearing a dress. And then we argue about that instead. In the Republican view of foreign policy, our nation should never go to war unless we get really angry, and then we should invade a lot of random countries with just enough force to keep the conflict going until Democrats can come to power and surrender. In the Democrat view of foreign policy, our nation should never invade other countries at all, so that the evildoers rise to power everywhere and the world devolves into tyranny and chaos until Republicans come to power and get so angry that they invade a lot of random countries until Democrats can come to power and surrender. So basically, both sides can work together on this. Finally, in the Republican view of cultural standards, the old ways are best. Studies have shown repeatedly that the things that make people happy are faith in God, hard work, family, and Xanax, especially when mixed with a king-size blunt. In the Democrat view, these old-fashioned religious values are just remnants of an oppressive system based on mythological belief long ago debunked by science, or something that sounds like science, or just someone in a white coat saying it's been debunked. If you're a woman, you should feel free to sleep around, then claim you were raped to avoid feeling like a slut, then abort the child you got pregnant with, then demand that the government spend millions researching and curing the unheard-of venereal disease you contract so you can get back to sleeping around. If you're a man, you'll be called a rapist and a sexist, but you won't care because you'll be getting so much tail. So it's clear as we look to the future, we're going to have to find a way to reconcile these two visions into a single system of self-destructive dysfunction and rage. To end on an optimistic note, I think we're already well on our way. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shaped, ipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray, it makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray. Oh, hooray, hurrah!
All right, we are here, and it's Mailbag Day. All right, it's Mailbag Day. So you have to, in order to be in the mailbag, which is a little uncomfortable, but you get to send in your questions too. In order to be in the mailbag, you have to subscribe to the site. If you subscribe for a year, you get a month free. It's in a lousy $8 a month. You get Ben Shapiro's novel, True Allegiance. This is his first novel, I think. This is his first novel, very entertaining read. And you get me, and you get Ben, and you can watch the entire show. Otherwise, you're on Facebook and YouTube, and then suddenly darkness descends upon you. Also, my memoir, The Great Good Thing, A Secular Jew Comes to Faith in Christ, is still on sale as an ebook for $2.99. So you can get it. Yeah, it's good stuff, especially if you're thinking about these things. All right, the forecast for the Klavanless weekend is sunny with a chance of leftist tears. I think it looks like it's going to be whining for 3 days running. One thing I love is that the left always takes things so well. They always take things so calmly. I think we should go right to the core of the leftist establishment and hear from gossip columnist Perez Hilton as he addresses a grateful nation.
You are responsible for voting for Donald Trump. I can't believe this. What the f***? If it were anybody else, Ted Cruz, I would have sucked his anybody but Donald Trump.
Oh, I wish it was 2012. Mitt Romney's such a sensible guy. Sensible. Donald Trump had to have his Twitter taken away from him. My God.
I feel for that man. That is really, and then there's all the celebrities, Jon Stewart and Lena Dunham and Whoopi Goldberg, Miley Cyrus, Al Sharpton. They all said they were going to move to Canada. They would move to. How come they didn't say they were going to move to Mexico? And in Canada they're going like, ooh, no, you know, not Lena Dunham, ooh, no. You know? Yeah, that's right. This is a major problem. It's just, you know, my favorite tweet. I have two favorite tweets. The first one, can we put it up so I can read it? This is Lacey Green, who's a YouTube star, and before the election, before the results come in, she says, regardless of the outcome, we are clearly a deeply divided and broken nation. So much work ahead to mend, heal, and restore the you in USA. And less than 4 hours later, we are now under total Republican rule. Textbook fascism. F you, white America. F you, you racist, misogynist pieces of blank. Good night. That was 4 hours. What a difference 4 hours make. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. So remember, are you old enough to remember when refusing to accept the outcome of an election was an unprecedented attack on our system of government? You know, I mean, the moral rules, what was that, 20 hours ago, 24 hours ago? Yeah. So the moral rules simply do not apply to the left because they're just so good. They're just so inherently good that whatever they do, it's goodness. So, and we are just so very bad that we must be opposed on every. So thousands of people across the country, here's the New York Times, a former newspaper, thousands of people, pretty soon it's going to be a former newspaper because I don't know how long they're going to be with us. Thousands of people, if I sound a little gleeful, it's because I'm drinking the tears of leftists, and it makes me happy. I'm sorry. So thousands of people across the country marched, shut down highways, burned effigies, and lynched one effigy. Can you imagine what would have happened if they had lynched an effigy of Barack Obama? Burned effigies and shouted angry slogans on Wednesday night to protest the election of Donald J. Trump as president. The guy hasn't even done anything yet. He hasn't even, they keep saying, I see on Twitter, it was trending, not our president, not my president, I think was trending. And they kept saying, when I made fun of them, they all said, well, you did the same thing with Barack Obama. I thought, nobody did that. We protested the things he did. Protested Obamacare. We did protest Obamacare. We did protest, the Iran deal and things like that. But nobody protested the fact that he was elected. I mean, gosh, these guys are. It's so entitled to think that you're supposed to win every election. The demonstrations fueled by you know what this means? Donald J. Trump, when he gave his acceptance speech, was gracious. He was inclusive. He didn't go back to some of the things that divided people. He only mentioned the things he thought everybody would agree on. This means that these protesters have less class than Donald Trump. I mean, I want each and every one of you leftists out there to look in the mirror and say, and point at that face that's looking back at you and say, you have less class and graciousness than Donald J. Trump, and live with that. All right, here is one pleasant protester who was interviewed by CNN in the midst of her rage.
Lily, your sign tonight says,
our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. If we don't fight, who's going to fight for us? People had to die for the freedom where we're at today. We can't just do rallies. We have to fight back. There will be casualties on both sides. There will be, because people have to die to make a change in this world. But Trump, enough with your racism. Stop splitting families. Don't split my family.
And you're fearful that you're going to lose friends and relatives to deport?
A lot. Friends, family, even all races. Not just my Hispanic culture, but the rest of the races. Don't take away our rights. Impeach Donald Trump. That's what he needs to get, is impeached. So
if she's going to lose parts of her family to deportation, it's because they're here illegally, right? So like instead of doing what she could reasonably do in a country this generous, this kind, this unracist, which is begging for mercy. Instead of saying, yes, we broke the law, but give us a break because now we're here and boo-hoo-hoo, which even we on the right would probably respond to. Instead, she's going to kill people to protect her right to break our laws. It's like, no one is more entitled than people who know that they have done the wrong thing. But, how can people not be upset? How can people not be upset? This is all on the media, our old friends, the mainstream media. Listen to Van Jones on CNN. This is a meme, an idea that's going around, is how are we going to tell our children about Donald Trump, the LA Times, how to break this to your children? First of all, why should we be helping you raise your children? Raise your own damn children, You can't figure out how to tell them somebody got, a president. Tell them it's a new, last time we had the first black president, now we have the first orange president. It's a wonderful, accepting country, okay? So here's Van Jones, the brokenhearted Van Jones, a man who supported a cop killer. Remember that guy whose name I can't pronounce? Guy's on death row, and he was telling us what a wonderful fellow this guy was for killing a cop. Here's Van Jones. How is he going to break it to, after he breaks it to them that he supports murdering police officers, how is he going to break it to them that Donald Trump is the president?
People have talked about a miracle. I'm hearing about a nightmare. It's hard to be a parent tonight for a lot of us. You tell your kids, don't be a bully. You tell your kids, don't be a bigot. You tell your kids, do your homework and be prepared. And then you have this outcome, and you have people putting children to bed tonight, and they're afraid of breakfast. They're afraid of, how do I explain this to my children? I have Muslim friends who are texting me tonight saying, should I leave the country? I have families of immigrants that are terrified tonight. This was many things. This was a rebellion against the elites. True, it was a complete reinvention of politics and polls, it's true. But it was also something else. We've talked about race. We've talked about everything but race tonight. We've talked about income. We've talked about class. We've talked about region. We haven't talked about race. This was a white lash.
White lash. It's a white lash. So I have a lot to say about this white lash business because this is what is ginning people up. It's this idea that any notion that they disagree with, any politics they disagree with, is hate. And they said it about Mitt Romney, and they said it John McCain. They may have a case against Donald Trump, but they always say it, so they're just the people who cried wolf here. So first of all, if you insist, as the left insists, that everything is about race, that everything is about you're black and I'm Hispanic and this one is this and this one is that, how on earth can you say to white people you can't vote your race? Where is your moral authority to say that you can't vote your race? So here is NBC continuing this white lash. This is their new thing, their little idea that they've come up with. Here is NBC covering this, going out and covering the awful effects on our country of white lash.
Outside the nation's African American History Museum, there's deep worry about President-elect Donald Trump's victory and the huge turnout by rural, working-class white voters.
How much is it about race? Trump has made the whole election about race, so about 100% of it.
I'm not angry. I'm hurt. I'm hurt because it says a lot about America.
They see what's been called a white lash. White Americans feeling left out and deep resentment as the nation grows more diverse. Rallied by a candidate who promised to ban Muslims, wall out Mexicans, and who challenged the very legitimacy of the nation's first black president.
For 16-year-old Valerie Travi, who was born in the U.S., this election seems more like an eviction. Her undocumented parents were deported back to Colombia 10 months ago. With Clinton, she saw hope. With Trump, helplessness.
Donald Trump deported her parents 10 months ago? That's awful. Donald Trump went back in time to become president in the past and deported her parents. That orange son of a gun. I cannot believe that he would do. Oh, wait. What the hell is she talking about? Her parents were deported under Barack Obama because they were here illegally. And this thing, let's take a look at some of this. They said he wants to ban Muslims, which he said he took back. He, morphed from that, as he put it, into keeping, Muslims out, vetting them, extreme vetting, as he called it, which of course we need. Of course we need to extremely vet people from Muslim countries to make sure they don't want to kill us. That's not a big. And he said he wanted to wall out Mexicans. He wants to wall out Mexicans. I mean, Trump didn't even say that. He wants to wall out illegals. He wants to enforce our laws about the border. I got a lot more to say, and the mailbag, but if you're on Facebook and YouTube, we're going to cut you off like the cheap SOBs you are because you haven't given us your lousy $8. But you can come to thedailywire.com and listen to the rest.